Okay, so I work for the Wasatch Front Regional Council, and for those of you who may not have heard of us, we are the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which means that we do generally long-range transportation planning. We also are a conduit for federal funding that's going to local governments for transportation projects. That is our main federal responsibility, and then we also do technical planning assistance work as well. And our planning area extends from Brigham City down to Bluffdale. So throughout Weber Davis and Salt Lake counties as well. So our main task is transportation. And many of you know about the Power District redevelopment. It's about a 100-acre site near the Fairpark and Jordan River. And it's quite a large redevelopment potential and potentially the site of a proposed Major League Baseball team if we were to get an expansion team. And so this, can be very exciting, but it also means that there's a lot of transportation needs that will need to be met with all of this redevelopment. And we know that this area has a lot of really great facilities, whether those are regional and local roads, right? There's great street connectivity. There's lots of transit opportunities, and the Jordan River in particular provides a great active transportation connection. But that the area will need, part of the study is looking at how the area can be better supported in transportation with such a large impact proposed. So the Power District Transportation Study is a joint effort between us, WFRC, the Salt Lake City Transportation Division, UDOT, UTA, the Fairpark, and the Larry H. Miller Real Estate Company real estate arm, who's developing the Power District study. And it's being funded through an appropriation that the legislature gave us earlier this year. So what we're doing is looking beyond just the boundary of the Power District itself. So you can see in this map, the Power District is down here and is generally bounded by Redwood Road, North Temple, I-80, and the Jordan River, essentially. And then this city is looking about a mile beyond that. So we are looking about 1,000th north to Poplar Grove Boulevard, 215 to about I-15 and the commuter rail track. And looking at how we can improve mobility and livability within this region. So these are the draft objectives, and we actually just met, and these are revised a little bit, but I'll just kind of get you thinking about what purpose of the transportation study is. We want to preserve the quality of life for existing residents. We know there will also be a lot of future residents, more employees to the area, and visitors who are also expecting a high quality of experience. We want to be able to maintain and support attractive and livable spaces. And part of that is how can transportation support that? Michaela was talking about these node opportunities along the Jordan River, and it would be great if we can ensure that trail connections and transit connections to some of those places are enhanced. And we want to make sure that the area continues to be sort of this multimodal haven, that we're not sacrificing our transit ridership or our bicycle and pedestrian access because we're accommodating people only driving, for instance. So we want to make sure that we're still providing those transportation choices, and that that movement throughout the area is relatively easy, and we want to improve access to opportunities. And so when we say access to opportunities, we mean the ability to reach destinations, and whether that's people coming into the area to access new jobs, or whether that's existing residents who are trying to access educational opportunities or jobs or other recreation outside of the area. We want to make sure that people are able to do that. So this study will look both at local streets, but also regional roadways. So that's, things like Redwood and North Temple, I-80 and I-15. We're looking at public transportation. We know that when you reach the Fairpark, sometimes on public transportation, there's a lot of loading issues to get back on the train at the end of the day. And there's a lot going on at the Fairpark. A lot's going to continue to go on at the Fairpark. And potential of adding a new event center like a baseball stadium is going to put a lot of pressure on our public transportation system. So we want to make sure that we know how to accommodate all of that demand. And then looking at how we can strengthen our trails and active transportation connections into the area. So this study, unlike the two previous studies you've heard about, are really at the beginning stages. I don't have final plans for you. And so really what we're hoping to do here is develop recommendations for where additional infrastructure is needed and or existing infrastructure, how we can improve that. We'll be looking at transportation demand management. I just talked about that with both the Fairpark events and then the potential baseball games and other things that that stadium might be used for, how we can get people in and out of the area without overwhelming the system. We know that a lot of people will have to access these events not by driving because roadway capacity is limited at the moment. And so how can we best do that? And then looking at implementation strategies. So at what, what's needed, at what point do those improvements become needed? Just because this 100 acres might be redeveloped, it's not going to all be redeveloped at once. And so as there are different points of development come online, different projects will be needed. Looking at how to fund those, we know transportation funding is limited. And then, like I said, the timing of those developments. So we kicked off this project towards the end of July, and we've gotten through sort of understanding the existing conditions, existing level of services, where there might be connectivity issues. And we're working in the next month or so, beginning those conversations about developing transportation concepts and identifying improvement areas. And then the project is planned to be wrapped up next June, 2025. So that is a brief overview of the Power District Transportation Study. Like I said, it's not as developed as the last two presentations you've heard. But yeah, we're just getting started in the process, and I'm happy to come back at a different point when we have more of those multimodal transportation concepts identified as well. But I just wanted to let you know that this was happening. And as you saw in the project map, the Jordan River kind of cuts through the study area and is a great way to access the Power District site. So it will definitely be something that we're taking a look at, connections to and from the Jordan River.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. It was a great presentation. And I can speak for everybody that we'd love to have you come back as you have more information and details on the study. And I'm pleased that you are incorporating the Jordan River in the study. Such a great resource in active transportation. With that, do we have any comments or questions for Julie?
Let me just add a couple of things. So some of you know that the North Salt Lake representative on our governing board is Ted Knowlton, who also happens to be the deputy director for WFRC. And he's encouraged us to kind of get connected on this project because the Jordan River is so central to it. And so we're happy to have Julie come. We know you're at the beginning of the project, whereas the other two presentations are more, projects that are fairly well developed at this point. I would like to know how is the best way for the commission to get involved in what you're doing? Aside from the active transportation, there are a lot of other things that we have ideas about, maybe some concerns with public safety and other things that are happening in this area. And we'll just love to know how to be involved in the process from its outset so that we can help guide and contribute and provide input early in the process.
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is perhaps having you on our technical advisory committee. It only meets about 6 times over the course of the study. And they've met once so far. The next one will be, like I said, that multimodal transportation concept. Another thing we could do, and we can talk, Soren, is whether it makes sense to do, some type of more detailed kind of like workshop with the commission people on this call today, and kind of broaden that out to more of like a stakeholder meeting or interview with a broader group like this one. So yeah, we can continue to have those conversations
Okay.
between you and Ted, and like what's the best way of engaging and hearing what you guys are experiencing.
Yeah. There are a lot of, for example, a lot of stormwater impacts from the transportation system. Um, all the storm drains that are in this whole area drain to the Jordan River right now, and we see a lot of impacts from whatever's on the pavement ends up in the river. Those are some areas that, as we're looking at transportation systems, kind of rethinking what the connection of the urban runoff from those transportation systems is, and how we can rethink some of those things in connection with
Yeah.
upgrades to the area. We know water quality is a major concern for the development team. And so thinking about how we might rethink transportation systems in this area, which is a major collection of pollution and contaminants, is something we would love to explore, and start thinking about ways that we might change some of those systems where opportunities may exist, with the development, for example.
Yeah, and I would love to have that as one of something in the, in this is a technical study, so it would be great to have something like you're saying, as guidance for design as these projects move forward.
Yeah. Well, this is fabulous. We're excited. This is probably the most industrial part of the Jordan River presently. We've seen incredible improvements in other industrial parts of the river in the past. Bingham Junction, which is another area that is being built around transit systems right now down in Midvale and West Jordan. We just see enormous opportunity here to rethink an area around the Jordan River that has great potential in ways that bring a lot of new benefits to the river as well. So great work.
Yeah, agreed.